Number 5. Sloot Digital Coding System. In the late 1990s, a Dutch electronics technician named Jan Sloot announced the development of the Sloot Digital Coding System, a revolutionary advance in data transmission that he claimed could reduce a feature-length movie down to a file size of just 8 kilobytes. He claimed that his way was different from the conventional and ritualistic 1 and 0 combination sheets. He further stated, "It is not about compression. Everyone is mistaken about that. The principle can be compared with a concept as Adobe PostScript, where sender and receiver know what kind of data recipes can be transferred, without the data itself actually being sent." He later demonstrated his invention to a number of Philips executives, where he used an old PC and played 16 movies simultaneously from a 64 kilobyte chip at a high speed without reading from a hard drive. Strangely, after getting a bunch of investors, Jan experienced a heart attack a day before he could patent his invention, and his device was never recovered. Although it had attracted the interest of all the top investors of the industry, none was ever revealed the secret behind its functionality. Number 4. Ogle's Carburetor. In the 1970s, a man named Tom Ogle developed a new type of carburetor that pressurized gasoline into a vapor and injected it into the firing chambers. He claimed that the modified carburetors can drastically increase fuel economy and allow cars to reach up to 100 miles per gallon. He demonstrated his device to the press on April 1977. He drove his 1970 Ford Galaxy 200 miles from El Paso to Deming on a measure of 2 gallons of gasoline. His car was under observation at all times, yet the vehicle went the distance without stopping for fuel and averaged 100 miles per gallon at 55 miles per hour. When inspectors checked for a hidden fuel tank, none were found, and there was no sign of fraud. Not only does his device promise more miles per gallon, but he claimed that it will clean the environment while causing its owner fewer repair headaches. He believed his system is the answer to the world's pollution problems and has demonstrated virtually zero pollutant emissions coming from his engine exhaust. He reportedly first got his idea for the carburetor when he accidentally poked a hole in the gas tank of his lawnmower. He claimed he ran a hose from the top of the tank directly into the carburetor, and the engine kept running for 96 hours. Tom used the same concept on an automobile, gathering fumes from the gas tank and piping them to the engine. He was approached by C.F. Ramsey, an international financier who wanted to buy his patent and marketing rights to the device. He signed a preliminary agreement with him the very next day and was offered $25 million. Later on August 19, 1981, Tom mysteriously passed away at the age of 26, and according to the autopsy, he overdosed on painkillers. Number 3. Greek fire. Way back in the 7th century, the Byzantine created a weapon known as Greek fire to protect Constantinople during the Arab siege. The incendiary weapon was exceptionally effective in naval warfare, as it could be shot from siphon-like devices and continued to burn even when it came in contact with water. To enhance the effect, the Byzantines installed figureheads of animals like lions on their ships, so it would seem as if the animals were spewing fire from their mouths. This potent weapon gave the Byzantines an edge over their enemies in warfare, and it also had a psychological effect on foes that had never seen such a device. The weapon provided them huge technological advantages, and was responsible for many military victories. Due to its great importance, Greek fire was a closely guarded secret of the empire. No foreigner could expect to gain this knowledge from the Byzantines. Although many nations sought the secret of Greek fire in diplomatic exchanges, the Byzantines never shared this knowledge. Number 2. Chronovisor. In the 1960s, Father Pellegrino Maria Ernetti, an Italian priest, claimed to have invented a time machine of what he called chronovisor, which allowed him to see in the future and past. He described that the device looked a bit like a television. However, instead of receiving broadcasts from local transmission stations, the chronovisor could tune into the past to allow the viewer to see and hear events that had occurred years or even centuries earlier. He claimed that the machine worked by detecting all the sights and sounds that humanity had made that still floated through space. The device supposedly enabled viewers to watch any event in human history by tuning into the remnant vibrations that are caused by every action. Even though he lacked hard evidence for these claims, he said that he had witnessed, among other major historical events, such as the founding of Rome in 53 BC. On his deathbed in 1994, he said that he attended a meeting of all the people involved in the chronovisor at the Vatican, during which the only existing machine was destroyed. He stated that, in the wrong hands, it could create the most fearsome dictatorship the world has ever seen. Unsurprisingly, conspiracy theorists say that the chronovisor is still being used today and is located somewhere in the Vatican, hidden in one of the many chambers. However, others believe that this was just a complete hoax. Number 1. Project XA. In the 1960s, the Liggett and Myers Tobacco Company created a product called the XA. It was a cigarette in which most of the stick's carcinogens had been eliminated. The product was also known as the palladium cigarette, which incorporated palladium nitrate into tobacco and made combustion of the tobacco more thorough and complete, resulting in smoke containing less harmful byproducts. Despite the company's initial support, executives withdrew their backing for the project, and the palladium cigarette never got to the production stage. The company's lawyers had advised that launching a safer product would lead to endless lawsuits from the public for the less safe products that Liggett sold. After 25 years of research and development, the project was abandoned, and more than 2 decades, the public had no better knowledge of a safer product despite the work that was done. What's even worse was that they continued to sell cancer-causing cigarettes, even though they were fully aware of the health risks associated with what they sold. Another reason the palladium cigarette never made it to the shelves was because Liggett didn't want to break ranks with other tobacco giants like Philip Morris. Although the company knew that the product would be commercially viable and marketable, they were more worried about the potential retaliation from other tobacco companies in the industry. In the end, after spending an estimated $10 million on the project, Liggett buried all traces of it in the sand.